What if the weakness you've been trying to fix isn't weakness at all? What if it's just power, untrained, undirected, and leaking out at the worst possible moments? You were told to follow your heart, to be open, to be kind, to be understanding. And on the surface, that sounds right. But no one explains what happens when you bring that mindset into a world that doesn't follow the same rules. No one tells you what it costs. The hesitation when you should have acted. The silence when you should have spoken. The second guessing that comes right after an opportunity disappears. And slowly, you start to notice something uncomfortable. While you were trying to be good, someone else was simply trying to win. Let's get something clear right now. This is not about becoming cold. This is about becoming controlled. Because there is a massive difference between feeling deeply and being ruled by what you feel. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this difference long before most people even had the language for it. In The Prince, he never says, "Become emotionless." What he shows, over and over again, is something far more dangerous. If you try to be good in every situation, in a world where others are not, you will lose. Not because you're weak, but because you're predictable. Think about your own life for a second. How many times have you let something slide that shouldn't have, given someone another chance they didn't earn, avoided conflict just to keep the peace? Not because it was the best decision, but because it felt uncomfortable to do otherwise. That's not strength. That's lack of control disguised as virtue. Machiavelli saw the world without filters, not as it should be, but as it actually operates. And in that world, he noticed a pattern most people still ignore. People don't respond to your intentions. They respond to your behavior. It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. This is one of the most misunderstood ideas ever written. People hear it and think it means domination, intimidation, cruelty. It doesn't. It means stability. Love is unstable. It depends on mood, perception, expectations. It can disappear the moment you stop meeting those expectations. But controlled fear, real authority, creates consistency. It sets boundaries. It tells people exactly where you stand and what happens if those boundaries are crossed. And when people understand that clearly, they stop testing you. That's not about being harsh. That's about being clear. Now here's where most people go wrong. They think the answer is to shut off emotion completely, to become numb, detached, untouchable. But that's not power. That's limitation. The man who feels nothing isn't strong. He's predictable in a different way. He lacks depth. He lacks connection. He lacks awareness. Real power comes from something else entirely. Feeling everything, but choosing what deserves a reaction. Machiavelli never argued for constant coldness. He argued for flexibility, precision, timing. There are moments where kindness builds loyalty, moments where empathy strengthens alliances, moments where restraint prevents unnecessary conflict. And then there are moments where hesitation destroys everything, where decisiveness matters more than being liked, where acting quickly, even harshly, prevents bigger damage later. The skill is knowing the difference, and most people never develop it. Machiavelli calls this virtù, not virtue in the moral sense, but capability, the ability to shape outcomes instead of being shaped by them. Then there's fortune, luck, chaos, timing, the unpredictable forces you cannot control. His insight is simple, but brutal. You don't control what happens, but you control how prepared you are when it does. Most people wait. They react. They hope things work out. But the ones who actually gain power, they prepare before anything happens. They build discipline before it's needed. They decide in advance how they will act under pressure. That's what separates control from chaos. And here's another uncomfortable truth. If you are always trying to be liked, you are operating from dependency, because approval can be taken away. Respect, earned through clarity, consistency, and boundaries, is much harder to remove. Machiavelli didn't teach people to manipulate for the sake of cruelty. He revealed how influence already works, and whether you like it or not, you are already part of that system. So the real question isn't, should I play the game? You're already in it. The question is, do you understand it? Because if you don't, you will be controlled by people who do. So what changes? You don't kill your emotions. You train them. You don't eliminate anger. You decide when it becomes action. You don't suppress empathy. You stop letting it override judgment. You don't chase approval. You build presence. And slowly something shifts. You stop reacting automatically. You start choosing deliberately. That's the turning point. Because the most dangerous person in any room isn't the loudest. It isn't the most aggressive. It's the one who stays calm, sees clearly, and acts without hesitation when the moment comes. That person isn't emotionless. They're disciplined. Machiavelli lost his position. He was exiled, ignored, pushed out of the system he understood better than almost anyone. And yet, centuries later, his ideas are still here, still relevant, still uncomfortable, because they describe something real, something most people feel, but don't want to admit. So here's the question you need to sit with. Are your emotions making your decisions for you? Or are you making decisions about your emotions? Because one makes you reactive, predictable, easy to influence. The other makes you precise, calm, hard to move unless you choose to move. And in a world full of noise, impulse, and overreaction, that difference is everything. You don't need to feel less. You need to control more. And once you do, you don't become cold. You become dangerously clear. And that's where real power begins.